Greetings everyone! Before we start our presentation, please let us introduce ourselves. Starting from me, I'm Tracy.
I'm Aisyah.
And I'm Naila.
The application developed is a C-based program with the aim to simulate a cashier system in the mini-market. We added several features, such as the first, making transactions. The user can choose from the list of items, and it will automatically count the total price. The second, viewing the inventory stock of items that can automatically update the stock after transaction. And the third, exporting the transaction history into a TXT file. Overall, the main objective of our application is to implement data storage using a TXT file for the transaction history.
As example, we first input the Lakukan transaksi menu. We choose the option minuman as an example, and we choose the subcategory T and chose teh melati with the quantity of 3, so it's easier to detect the stock change. Here, the total is 24,000 rupiah because of the multiplication between the quantity and the price. Then, we added another item also from the category minuman and chose milk. This is to set an example that total price from the basket gets added the more items the user bought. Here, we can see the final price is 94,000 rupiah. Then, we make the transaction choice and got the invoice of the items that we bought. Lihat inventory displays the items. On the tampilkan per subcategory, we type teh with the caps lock because it is still case sensitive. We can see that teh melati stock has been decreased by 3 due to prior transaction. Then we chose the urutkan or sorting to sort it first by alphabet. Next, we do sort by cheap to expensive, and lastly sort by least to most amount of stock. On cari berdasarkan barang, we type susu, also beginning with caps lock, and we can see the stock on chocolate milk has been decreased. Lastly, we displayed all of the items on the drink category. On the third menu, we can see the transaction that we did before. We chose to export the transaction, and to do it, we need to type the ID. After typing the ID, we can see that the transaction is already been exported to the export_transaction txt file. And we can also see that our transaction is also automatically been exported to the transaction.txt file.
Okay, so first we take a look at the configuration of the program. So here we have data structure. It is used to contain information. So we have struct of barang. Barang is item. So this is where the stock hold information of items. So every item has like ID, name, price, stock, category, and subcategory. And then item dikeranjang. Item dikeranjang is like the cart. It's like the holder. So it acts like a cart in real life shopping, So it will store the item that you already picked, the index of the item, and the quantity of the item, and the subtotal. And then for transaksi. Transaksi is like the start of the transaction. It will hold the ID transaction, item list that already have in the item dikeranjang, amount of item, total price, and time of the transactions. And then all of the items is stored in the warehouse, and this is the warehouse. It's an array, it's a large array called inventory. It has 53 items here. And this is the index of the item. So let's take a look. For example, the first item is sabun. Sabun is soap, and sabun index is 0. Sampo 1. Sampo is the second item, but the index is 1. Here. Okay, so the first feature is making a transaction, which is handled in the pesan barang void. So let me restate. In this pesan barang void, we have the first, the program will display the category, and then we get to choose the subcategory. After the subcategory, we'll bring to this process input pesanan. This is where we choose the item, like what is it, daging domba. And then after that, it will tampilkan keranjang. It will show the card. After showing the card, if you don't want to have, if you don't want any other item, you will go to void pembayaran. Okay, let's go here. Process input pesanan. Process input pesanan, category, subcategory, and so on. So after we choose the item here, it goes to pilihan user. Here I choose 2, which is lamb. It will go to the terjemahkan pilihan to index global. Or in English, it will translate user choices to global index. So how does this function works? First, the program will loop through the entire inventory, through the warehouse. This is to search the items that match with the category and the subcategory that already chosen by the user. So here we have the quality operators and string compare to comparing the string with the subcategory for the subcategory. And if it's found a match, the counter will increase by 1. So here we have counter from 0, 0 will be increased to 1. And if the counter already matched with the user choices, which is 2, it will return the value of the I. The I is the iteration. So here I already have some notes here, like this. So based on my transaction, we choose daging domba, right? Daging domba is in the category makanan, food category, and the mid subcategory, daging. So the first iteration, the first I is still category kebutuhan, or needs category. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's still needs, so it doesn't match. But remember that the iteration will always increase. And then in the 6th iteration, it's already matched with what we have. It's category makanan and daging, meat, food and meat. It's already matched, but the counter is still 1, so it doesn't yet return the value of the iteration, the I. And then the second, it's matching also makanan and daging, and the counter from 1 will increase to 2, and 2 is the same as the user choices. Like I choose here, I choose 2, and then the function will return this 7. 7 is the iteration, but it also the indexes, the global indexes, the real indexes of this daging domba. So after getting the real index, you will get to choose how many items that you want, and the quantity and the index of the item will be added into the cart. Here, tambah keranjang berdasarkan index. That's the functions. Here, I will show the preview of those functions. It's basically just changing the value of this keranjang, the cart. Like for example, here I already write cart 0, the index is 7. 7 is the lamp, and yeah, you get to see it. And then let's take a look at the payment void. Okay, so the first process is the transaction. So it's basically just like moving the list of the items into the transaction. We have tiba. Tibagu is the variable that using the struct transaksi. Okay. So we just listing the items that already have inside the cart, and the T baru will also store the total price that we have to pay. But for totaling the price, we use this function. We use a recursive function called hitung total recursive. Here is the function. Yeah. So as you can see here, the function will call itself until the index is empty. But remember, it's index of the item in the cart, not inventory. Okay. So after that, it will get the time of the transaction and making the ID transaction. Then it shows the payment method. You choose the payment method, either cash or e-wallet. And then after you choose it, the program will decrease the stock by how many that you buy the item, like you can see here. And then it will store the history and the transaction to the history array that we already have here. It will save the invoice into the file, and it will print the invoice. This is print the invoice. You can see in the terminal. And after that, don't forget to refresh the item, to refresh the cart. So the program won't continue the transactions that already made before. Yeah. And that's how the transactions making work.
The second menu is to view the inventory. The flow goes like this. In these sections, we have the option to display items by subcategory, and if the user chooses to sort them, there will be extra choices, which is to sort it by name A to Z, sort it by price, lowest to highest, sort it by stock, lowest to highest. Other than that, the user can search items by name or display all items in the selected category. The system then shows an item table based on the chosen option. All of that will be looped by the lihat inventory void. Then if the choice is between 1 to 3, it will be forwarded to the menu lihat inventory category. And if it's 4, then the program will be returned to the previous menu. And other than that, the choice will not be valid. After choosing the main category, which is food, drinks, and daily necessities, the user will be asked to pick a list of choices, like I said in the beginning when explaining the flow, as we can see in here. The first choice, which is to display items by subcategory, use tabel barang subcategory to display items per subcategory. This void uses printf and looping mainly to make it scalable and neat. In the loop, we also use struct to display the details. This is the output. The second choice is used to sort the items per category. On this part, we mainly use bubble sort. In the first sorting choice, we use string compare to sort the strings, and for the second and third, we use regular mathematical operations. This bubble sorts helps the program sort the items into A to Z, from cheap to expensive, and from the least to the most amount of stock. To display all of that, again, we use printf, the for looping, and pointer to point on each details on the item. As you can see, this is the output on the first choice, the second choice, and the third choice. The third one is search within the category. The user will be asked to type one of the words that they wanted to know the details. The category void is used to check and compare each strings on the item. In this part, we use linear search with string function to search the items one by one. We used it because the item itself isn't that many if divided into categories. This is the output. The last one is to display all items by category. In this choice, we use the tabel barang category void to display all. And similar to the tabel barang subcategory, the only difference is this void is used to display all subcategory of each category. Like others, this void uses printf, the for looping, and also struct.
Now, I'll explain the third menu. The third menu is to view transaction history and to export them into TXT file. The flow goes like this. First, the program will display the transaction histories. After that, the user can choose to export them by putting the numbers of transaction they wanted to export and entering the IDs. The transaction will be saved in a TXT file as the output. Now, if the user chooses the third menu, the void tampilkan riwayat will run first. In this void, the code will check jumlah transaksi, or the number of transaction that the user has made. If there is a transaction, then the code will print and show the transaction history based on the number of the transaction that has been made, saved in jumlah transaksi, with riwayat transaksi to show the data. After showing the transactions, the program will ask if the user wanted to export them into a TXT file. If yes, the user has to input 1. Then the user will be asked the number of transactions that wanted to be exported and the IDs of the transactions. And the IDs that the user has inputted will be compared in cari index transaksi berdasarkan ID with the IDs that have been saved in riwayat transaksi, and then saved to the variable index. If the result of the index comparison is rounded, then the indexes will be saved to the variable terpilih, with hitungan ketemu for the number of transactions. If the program found that there's at least one valid transaction, then void export transaksi ke TXT will be run. Now, in the void export transaksi ke TXT, a new TXT file named export transaksi TXT will be made and opened with fopen. W to write something new in the new file, with the text will be shown like this using fprintf. The indexes in index terpilih from the variable terpilih from riwayat transaksi before will be saved as idx transaksi. Then the array of riwayat transaksi based on the indexes will be saved to txpor that refer to the transaksi struct. From there, the data from the transaction will be displayed depending on what needs to be displayed using the arrow to display a value from the variables. To display all the items from the transaction, the variable jumlah item will be needed. Index barang will take the indexes of the items listed from inventory, then the indexes will be stored in barang dibeli, that refer to barang struct. The looping within looping here is so that the data will be displayed and saved based on the number of items from the transaction. After that, to close the file, fclose is needed to finish saving content into the txt file. That is all from our group. We would like to say thank you very much for your attention.